Thank you for joining us on a very boisterous and amazing night. We're here to talk about the afterlife. It's gonna get personal. This is another roundtable discussion. Things don't go the way they're supposed to because we're all lovely, amazing, fucking people.
We're fucking people?
Regularly. No, we apologize for the amount of laughter that's happening right now. There's a lot of shit you don't see because editing is magical. It probably won't get more serious.
No, don't expect it to, even though this is a very serious topic.
Well, it's a very serious topic, but because of that, we have to take it with a lighthearted stance, because otherwise, it's just a depressing conversation.
Well, so the thing with that is, I think this is actually a perfect segue into the afterlife conversation, because our religion not only dictates but demands. We throw a fucking party. Like it's not a mournful religion. Actually, Bear made this a post today.
Yeah.
It's not a mournful religion. This is a religion of like celebrating and remembering life, right? It's celebrating what we had. Yeah, they're gone, but there's life beyond death. This is what we so strongly believe, and this is why so many people are like, Valhall! Even though, you know, what's the line?
It's not Valhall, it's Valhall.
Right. And so when someone passes, whether it be through disease, whether it be through violence, whether it be in battle, like Vikings wish it to be, whatever it may be, it's celebrated.
Yep.
Right? And Odin specifically says, when the body's gone, set it on fucking fire and dance around it.
Yes.
Well, he doesn't say dance around it.
But it's a
that's
giant pyre.
right. It's a giant pyre. Let's do some shit. Let's roast some meat. Besides the guy that's cooking.
Right. Let's drink heavy, and let's remember everything that this fucker gave to us, and just have a joyous time to send them off to the next life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, your whole goal of living was to live a life, you know, that they're going to tell your story for years and years to come afterwards. So, you know, if you have a death where people are like, oh, he's gone, you didn't live that good of a life. Now it's, you know, if you're gone and you remember the time that he did this, you remember the time when she decided to jump off the thing, she broke her arm 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to piggyback on that. So the Have 'em all speaks on, don't talk about yourself. Let others speak of you.
Yep.
Right? Someone can look up the stands and put in the comments. Please comment. But it's so important. What you're saying is that you want someone to really remember you. If you got a lot of people wishing that you were still here, that means there's a lot of people you didn't say shit to, and they all feel guilty about it. Right? You got a lot of people that is telling stories and reminiscing. You lived a fucking good life.
And it's that reminiscing where like they're kind of sobbing while they're talking, like, and then everyone's laughing, but at the same time that person just not tears. It's just the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the last funeral I went to was actually with you, the dude that OD'd.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't actually know this guy. I went there because him. I went in support with you. And the entire time, everybody, you know, it was like a year and a half after high school. So we're all high school friends still, right? And everyone's talking about this dude did this dude did this. And it was during the funeral, as everyone's reminiscing, I was like, I did know this guy. I met him at a party once. This dude was awesome. He was so boisterous. He was fun to be around. And like at the, you know, like there's that receiving line the family does when they're crying, which I think is really weird. They're like shaking everyone's hands. They're like, he was such a cool dude, whatever it is. Like that's a weird thing. Anyway, but when I got to his mother and I could see the pain, I was like, ma'am, I met your son one time, and he was a tremendous dude. One time at a party, and that left a memory on me. You should be proud, right? It's one of those things like people should know. People should take the time to tell, like when you're hanging out at a buddy's house, tell their parents, like, you did a good job. Thanks.
Yep.
Especially now that we're getting, 30 plus years old.
Yeah.
And we're, and you can, and people's parents are still alive. Like, good job.
Yep.
They'll know. Just nod.
And it kind of goes back into the Have 'em all quote: "Men die, cattle die, and you will die too.
Yeah.
The only thing that lives forever is the honor of your name."
Fucking live a story, man. That's why, even older religions, older time, that's why Achilles went to Troy.
Yep.
His mother told him, you can stay here. That's cool. You will have daughters, you will have sons, your family will live on. They will remember you, your grandchildren will remember you, but after that, you're dust in the wind, man.
Yep, exactly.
You go to Troy, generations will remember you, right? And actually, if you ever read the story too, beyond just watching the movies, that's this huge thing that everyone talks about for Hector and for Odysseus and for Achilles is like, dude, our names are going to live for fucking ever. They knew it because this war was going to be so huge. They knew they were going to live forever. And that's such a huge thing. Like, in whether it's the Hellenic religion, whether it's the Greek religion, whatever that's called.
Hellenic.
Oh, shit. What's the Roman religion?
Copycat.
So what
it's like
Hey,
with
can we start
Ragnar.
calling Roman copycat?
Yeah.
No, don't call me that.
It's even like with Ragnar. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If Ragnar Lothbrok had just decided, I'm going to stay here and just work on my farm, he would have had a huge family. It would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But Bjorn would never have been Ironside.
Yeah.
You had to have gone out and seek glory and seek attention and make a path for yourself.
I mean, Ironsides was cool, but the really cool son was boneless. Like, if you read the sagas and you look at the sagas and you've...
Not the TV show.
Right. Right, that's why I said it twice. Sagas, right? 3 times.
Sagas.
Yeah, sagas. So this dude was like the ultimate mathematician, right? This dude was so... Man, he was otherworldly. It was crazy. He didn't have much for his body. He couldn't do shit.
So he made up for that any way he could.
Yeah, he created London, according to the sagas. Right, and so read it if you want. I much prefer the Crawford version. You know, shout out to you, sponsor us. But anyway, you know,
Londanius.
but live to be a saga, right? I just shared something on Facebook the other day. I was talking about is like life's about creating memories, not to-do lists.
One of the best memories, like you said with the English, there's a reason an entire section of England is called Norfolk. Norse folk.
Northern dudes.
Yeah.
So, to be back on our subject,
We're still on it.
I know, but we're... So, a lot of people get it in their heads that with the Norse religion, no matter what they've done, they're going to Valhalla. Because to them, that is the Norse heaven. And they don't recognize we don't have a heaven. We don't technically have the Christian hell either. We have a place where people who have fucked up hard go.
Yes, Niflheim is a terrible place where you are gnawed on for all eternity by the sons and sisters and brothers of Nidhaug.
But it's not like the Christians where if you sinned, you automatically go there. This is if you were a consistent oath breaker, if you were a rapist when it wasn't necessary, etc. Not that is ever necessary.
Here's the thing, because the Vikings didn't go there because they did what they did.
Exactly.
I'm gonna fuck your butthole because it's necessary. Loophole.
No, because Vikings went. Because Vikings.
I know what you're trying to say.
There.
I know what you're trying to say.
But now they don't.
We do not condone the rape of men and women in our culture.
Okay. Cool.
We do not condone rape nowadays.
No.
But back in the Dizzy,
That was a
fucking
thing.
happened.
However, if you were to go
And
and
the slaves
rape,
were white.
if you were to rape like somebody's wife within your village, that's when it counted as an evil.
Yes, because she was a free woman.
That's
She
it.
had the right to tell you to fuck off.
Not an enemy.
Yep. And that's where it was different and not necessary. I had to tie it into my thought, damn it. But that's where people like that went. Oath breakers, liars,
Yes.
cheaters. That's where they went. And
There's only one way into Valhall. That is to die on a battlefield because Odin wanted you to die originally and to keep your weapon grasped in your hand while you are dying.
But you also have to have lived an honorable life
Yes.
and be an honorable person.
yep.
And constant keyboard warrioring
Yeah, there we go.
is not honorable.
Right.
And that's on both sides of the spectrum. I'm not attacking one side or the other.
But like these stories that come out, okay, well my grandpa was a Vietnam vet. He also served in Korea or whatever. Like they'll give this long list of places he served. He is dying of cancer. Is he going to Valhalla?
He died in his
No.
bed. Sorry.
No, it's not.
Would you want your grandfather who is riddled with cancer to go to a place where he is born over and over and over again and only gets to fight when he hasn't fought in decades? Would you really want that for
Because that's
him?
the thing.
man.
The Einreinhard are not just a bunch of joyous, old war veterans that are just killing. These are men who died in the battle because the battle was their life.
It's true. Now, hold on. Allie brings up several things that I want to talk about. First is the idea of sin, right? And this is one thing that we've talked about a few times when we talked about the afterlife. and that the idea, most sins in the Christian, especially Catholic religion, because that was the only Christian religion at the time, most sins come directly from our religion, right?
Yep.
So a lot of the deadly sins are what the Norse people, the Vikings, held in high regard.
One of my best examples of that is like combing your hair and trimming your beard and keeping yourself well groomed was seen as vanity. Vanity's a 7 deadly sin. Like, it's up there. It's a big thing.
We go into this in detail in the Loki video.
Yeah.
Trying to be like super awesome to the point that sagas are written about you, that's hella pride.
Yeah.
Right? And we can go through, we might even make a video about the 7 deadly sins and how it relates to this culture.
Well, we kind of already have.
Or gluttony, about just drinking yourself silly
Well,
and
Loki's
feasting
great.
on an entire pig because I did an amazing thing and I worked so hard and I sacked an entire village and we're gonna feast and fuck whether they want to or not. We're
Because it's
gonna
necessary.
drink because Odin
Not gonna live
demands
nope.
it, and because the gods know that we are here to sacrifice and to spill blood and to just have a great time.
Have a great time. That's right.
So, to that point, where do people go when they die?
Now, to a lot of us, a lot of us do believe that it depends on what kind of a person you were, and especially, kind of off the dibs theory, which god personally wanted you within their realm.
Check out the Dibs Theory in another
Yes. I personally have an amazing amount of, I wouldn't say confidence, but want and wishingness that I will end up with Heimdall, guarding the Bifrost, always being the vigilant person to watch out for the frost giants and the fire giants as they try to march across Bifrost.
And I also think, depending on what your ancestors were.
Yeah, very much
Your
so.
Orlog could definitely
your Orlog.
affect where you go.
And
Now-
then assessed with Helheim.
Yeah.
So many people think, oh, don't go to Helheim. Oh, it's hell. No.
No.
H-E-L, not 2 L's. Again, not something else they stole from us. It happens a lot. You'll get used to it. Helheim is a place of just constant, almost like waiting.
Just being.
Just existing.
Yeah.
It's
So
not,
it's like Earth,
Almost
but
like, almost like this place.
it's not
lower.
quite the Catholic purgatory. It's like a step above.
Right.
Right? Because you can still do shit. It's not as nice as if you were to go to Freya's Hall and you can
Yes.
farm and shit.
Folkvinger is apparently beautiful.
That would be
Like you're saying, I see it as being Earth 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
A place to, go see the ones
they
that
have
are...
clerocal jobs.
hopefully without the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
As we say for a podcast for YouTube.
Yeah, but we're not in the afterlife, or are we?
Maybe we are all in
Matrix.
Helheim. But and before our kindred really started to grow, we had a theory that maybe if the gods liked us enough, we ended up with our own hall that had our family that we had built, so that we could spend our afterlives together.
That's how I feel about Freya's Hall. That's why I like it the best.
Miss Brunner.
That's kind of what we talk about. I think we talk about that in the Dibs Theory. We've talked about it before, how our religion is very much a multi-choice religion.
Yes.
And that's where we get the idea, and I'm going to overlap just a little bit, it's where we get the idea of the death shoes, and you can leave one, wherever you end up, you can leave and walk to another place. Good luck, but,
Right.
technically,
The sagas talk about many roads from Helheim to Asgard. And it's just up to if the gods can travel it on their horses, there must be a reason they're on horses, because they don't want to touch the road, because there must be some shit on that road.
Yeah,
Some walls, some Draugr, some fights, Garmer, constantly trying to take you back to Helheim, because he's like, you can't leave, you're in my territory.
try to take a lift in Albuquerque, end up in Jotunheim,
Right.
fuck my life.
Oh, dude. What is that? Is that a mountain? Oh, that's a toe. Ah!
Let's take a second.
They're big. They're big. Them some big
It's taking
people.
a second, man.
That was like 3 seconds. Those are big people.
I was trying to figure out why you were taking a second.
For the people that try to leave and end
Oh,
up
okay.
smelling stinky giant feet.
Moment of silence. That's what you should have said.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense, Roman.
But it's in the fact that with Folkvanger, Frey gets to choose one half of all the people who, and it says, fall in battle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So honestly, if anything else, most of the family members lost to wars and on foreign soil if anything, they could very well be in Folkvanger because Frey was like, I like these people, they're still warriors. And the people of Folkvanger will fight come Ragnarok.
I'm so glad you're more studious than I am and know these names.
But then when the people of Valhall, those again, the Reinhar are the elite. And not just the elite, they're sometimes just the people that Odin preferred. Odin was just like, yeah, you get the first half, but that one's mine. Well, yes, I killed this entire army for that guy.
That's the thing, though, is like, she picks first. He may be like, mine. She's like, yeah, fuck you, mine. Right? She gets to pick first. That's the crazy thing.
We don't know how that goes, of course, because Odin can still be like, I'm Papa Bear. You want to go?
Be like,
listen here, woman.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the afterlife just has so many different options,
it does.
right? And so we've got where the idea of Christian hell came from, where you know there's a land of fire, but there's also this place where you're munched on, right? And then,
Especially if you go through Dante's view of the old Catholic version of hell, the rings.
yeah, the lowest ring of hell, you're munched on by the devil, right? And but you're frozen.
Yep.
Right? And they talk about in the beginning in Asatru is there was nothing. In the middle, there was fire, there was ice, and where they met, filled the middle with brine. Right?
Gununganap.
Yeah, Gunungagap. And it's just... Okay, well, that's another conversation, is the overlap between the two religions, but...
and I mean, realistically, to kind of piggyback off that,
Go
maybe
ahead.
when they were looking at and stealing bits of our religion, they were looking at Helheim and Niflheim, and they're like, hell, we're just going to call it one word. And then they looked at something like Folkvanger, and they're like, that's going to be how we're going to describe heaven.
Right. A beautiful green pasture filled with gloriousness. And Asgard itself, even with Valhall, it is... Because within the Bible it talks about a city of gold with jeweled streets and empowered pearl buildings. But when you look at actual Asgard, it is all the roofs of Asgard, or of Valhalla especially, are lined with gilded shields of copper and bronze. And it kind of fits a lot into this aspect of just a glorious paradise that shines.
Yeah. And, you know, growing up, because I grew up Catholic, and in Sunday school before Mass, the nuns would talk about how heaven is your heaven, right? Like, if you're a huge baseball fan, heaven is nothing but fucking baseball fields and chewing gum.
Your team at the Game 7 World Series every single minute of every day.
Right. You know, it's the most exciting. You know, when you're 8 years old, you get to play the baseball.
Right.
When you're 32 years old, you get to watch the baseball.
Yeah.
Right? And there's endless beer, right? Because the monks drank and made a lot of beer. Right? So I know beer isn't not allowed in heaven. Right, but that again, that's a whole other conversation.
Right. We go on the Christians made beer.
Our
they stole all of it.
afterlife, again, is like a multiple choice thing, and so that's where we, you know, and to completely go a different direction. Another option for afterlife is the idea of ghosts. Right, I've seen several sources talk about how ghosts can be either those trying to go from one option to another option. Or what I prefer is that the ghosts are actually those that had the most dishonorable death, and that's the suicides, right? And suicides are just lost because the gods are so dumbfounded by it. You did what? Good luck getting where you need to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Sort of a thing.
I'm gonna pause you because that's a different video.
That is a different video, but I feel like it needs to be taking place as a
I agree.
possibility
I
for the
understand.
afterlife.
I understand.
Now, see, my
I just don't
thought
want us
on
to get too far into it.
I understand.
my thought on ghosts is more, since my view of the realms are basically them all just kind of stacked on top of each other, like in a different spectrum of light, kind of.
Oh, we're about to go down a different road.
Here we go.
Let's go.
But it's like you said, they could be on a journey from, you know, Helheim to where they want to be, and happen to find a thin layer between the, you know, our realm and theirs.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's where you get that, like, person out of your peripheral vision, like walking into a wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. You know, you walk through your doorway, you're now in the in-between, and now you know, can see somebody from 300 years ago walking down the road, you know.
It's so fucking weird.
But a dead ghost from the Czech Republic doesn't speak English, so don't believe those TV shows.
Yeah.
Well,
So there's
Bring it on, Zach.
There's some,
I'll fight you like a demon.
There's
What
some
did I
shit on
miss?
this though.
Zach Bacon.
Ghost Adventures.
Oh.
Yeah, we called you out.
I love the fact that we're calling him out, but at the same time, I feel like once you've transcended life, it also makes sense that you would transcend language.
That makes sense, but how does it anyway?
Right, how does it record in
Yeah.
fucking English? It's like, I feel like it would understand what you're saying, but you would not fucking understand what it's saying.
Well, because and then there's also the aspect of reincarnation, because it's brought up a lot in the sagas and whatnot. A sense of the
Where?
person. There are many where they talk about the father of this father is his son, and like they have with Sigurd, he is known to be so like his grandfather or so like his father before him,
Mhm.
the king, the more or less unfinished business. And that's more
Yes.
not like maybe
Yeah,
not
son is
pure
son.
reincarnation,
Yeah.
but if you die and the gods had a plan for you, but your death day came too soon,
Yeah.
then for some reason it almost seems like that aspect of you gets pushed on to either your child or in a sense a reincarnation. Whereas you have to complete the thing.
So
the
wait.
thing must be done.
Doesn't the Volsunga saga talk about, the saga of the Volsungs, Sigurd saga, talk about how when it finally comes to resolution,
Mhm.
it's like Sigurd's great-grandson, but he's like, I'm Sigurd. And the
Yeah.
Valkyrie's like, you are Sigurd.
Yes.
Right? So, like, according to that saga, if I'm understanding this correctly, it would be a reincarnate
Yeah.
situation. Am I understanding that
Well,
correctly?
because even then, the
Okay.
within the Sigurd saga, one of the Valkyries lays with another man in his tomb
Yes.
just to spend another night with him.
Yes.
So if they could have had a kid, there's all kinds of weird shit in the sagas.
Man, that is such an epic and confusing and awesome saga.
Yes. And it goes into the fact of the afterlife, because that means then that really it does come down to what you need. More or less what you want is a great thing, wanting is powerful, but the needs will always outweigh the wants.
Okay, so I'm going to derail you a little bit because, you're talking about how the gods have an idea and a plan for you.
Mhm.
And if you meet an untimely end and it, like, fucks with the... Hufflepuff! Sorry. If you meet an untimely end and it fucks with the gods' plan
We're
for
burning
you...
that.
It fucks with the gods' plan for you, but you still fucking die, right? I want to take a second and, like, really appreciate how the Norns supersede the gods' plans.
Right.
Right, and they talk about in several different sagas and in a couple other books as well that there are more than just the three sisters.
Yes.
Right, and that's one thing that people tend to forget. It's not just past, present, future, right? There's giant Norns, there's dwarf Norns,
Yes.
there's
Each individual has their own Norn, and your Norn could be a Jotun or a Dvangr or a dwarf. Your Norn could be an elf. It could be a good Norn or a bad Norn, and that dictates.
100%. Now, before we get too derailed on this, do we want to discuss Norns real quick, or do we want to keep this about afterlife?
Well, in a way, the Norns are a sense of the afterlife because the Norns are what lead you to that last day.
I feel like a roundtable discussion about the Norns and fate is going to take its own 12 minutes.
That's fine. So then get on with your point, Ben. Sorry.
Because his point on resurrection, I'm sitting over here like, well, that explains a lot, Brian.
Right. Well, and so kind of what I see on the whole reincarnation thing is not necessarily like if I die, my spirit being put back into a newborn child.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of it, yes, but the whole thing, absolutely not.
Right.
What's in that?
Yeah, it's like each time you don't fulfill what you were meant to do, they're going to pluck a piece of you and throw it into something else.
Because you still deserve rest.
Right.
That's one thing that I like to... There are a few bits of the Bible that I do like to quote. Sins of the Father is one of them. Right? And so, like, it may not necessarily be the sins of the Father, but the shit he was supposed to do, that's now you gotta do.
Which is your weird and your Orlog.
Yeah,
Right.
lyric. Yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of.
But we keep fucking up on something,
Yeah, because we keep coming back and finding each other.
Oh.
and I have distinct fucking memories.
Well, and we all have, and again, it kind of goes back to it. Yeah, we all have these memories. Whereas me and him have spoke in length about shit that we've never done. Things like Colosseums, things like warfare, and stuff like that. Like again, you will always have these weird memories of ancestral DNA in a sense.
Right, and that's why I don't typically bring this up to you guys, because it can be chalked up potentially to ancestral DNA. However, the memories I have are distinctly Brian, and it's distinctly me, and we're never looking like this. Half the memories we're both men. Some of the memories he's a woman. It gets funny.
Butt stuff. Sorry.
No.
He has insurance.
Butt stuff insurance.
But because of the whole reincarnation aspect, we know that we keep missing something.
Mhm.
And then we find each other, and then we work together to figure it the fuck out.
No, I get that, because there have been, so like before I found Asachi, like when I would play with tarot cards or whatever, I did this, I found this layout for like a past life regression sort of a thing. And that took me on a fun meditative adventure that was, like, at the time I was a security guard and I had the time to kill, but I was gone for like 3 hours. It was crazy. And like what actually brought me back was my radio. It was like, hey, when was the last time you did a rotation? I was like, fucking 10 minutes ago. So, like, and there are some times where you can go in a meditative state and you can go deep. Maybe it was last life, maybe it was 100 lifetimes ago, whatever it may be. And you see people from today. And you have to wonder. Excuse me. Jeez. You have to wonder, not to discount what you're saying, but how, because there's a theory that when you dream, any face that you see has to be a face that you've seen before.
Exactly.
But sometimes you're like, I have never seen that motherfucker before.
I remember.
Right, and so it's one of those things too, like with the past life regression, because the people I saw in the past life regression was like, no fucking way, right? But at the same
people
time,
look different throughout time.
right? But the idea as well of like a soulmate goes way beyond the person you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, right? It can be like there's that old soul that you've just been mates with. Right, not necessarily reproductive mates,
right?
But you like soul friends, right? And so like
Shit, it took us what, 2 days to become best friends,
if that,
if even that.
right? And so it's just one of those
We're
things
so
where,
opposite in the best ways.
yeah. Well, you can just find a person that you just like, you're fucking awesome, dude. Let's hang out, right? And the other dude's like, fuck yeah, right? It can be that. It can be these sorts of memories that no idea where these fucking memories came from. You can do a past life regression, some sort of meditative state, and you're like, I know this dude. This dude's actually my best friend. Why is he here? Why is she there? Whatever it may be. That's so fucking weird. And so, like, the idea of reincarnation is, it can't be explained any other way.
Right.
Whether or not it's actually written down in one of our sagas or stories or books, like, there's too many experiences that we've each had to explain any other thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so with reincarnation, I don't know if any of you have ever listened to Sylvia Brown talk back when she was real big in psychic tellings and shit. She said you only have so many chances. Each time each new life is one closer to your last one. And eventually it's you either get it right or you're done. And I kind of see that like with what I was saying, where they just pluck a piece from you. Each time they do that, your spirit gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and if you don't make it to the very end and do what you're supposed to do, that last life was the last video. When you're gone, you're gone.
I have to look something up now. I'm not texting.
Live. He's totally texting.
Right.
I heard his phone go off.
Yeah, the internet.
Enjoy what you just received.
What?
So,
I have
it makes a lot of sense with that, though.
It's not
I
even from you.
always thought the aspect of reincarnation and these like past memories make a lot of sense, and especially what you said there about how like you only have so many. Because yeah, if you keep taking a soul and splitting it into something else, eventually you're going to get to the zero sum.
Oh yeah.
And maybe that's where we get ghosts, is the leftover remnants of what has been used up. Maybe that's another explanation for ghosts.
Right, which is why when you see a ghost, they walk through walls. They're not walking through walls. Look at like an old floor plan of that building.
Yeah.
I bet there was a doorway there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And that old soul remembers, I walked here to get to the baby's room. I walked this way to get to the bathroom.
They're
I
sitting
walked
here
down
looking at the new layout like, bitch, shortcut.
Right. You have fucked up my entire feng shui.
Right? So, I mean, that could be another explanation for ghosts.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm just bringing us back to the subject, right?
Valhall, not Val-all.
Before y'all do, so there's a book called fuck, I just had it. It's written by, I was so caught up in who the author's name was. So it was
Biggest Dickus?
No, it's Richard Martini.
That's even better.
He wrote a book called
Chicken,
Flipside, A Journey into the Afterlife, right? And this book kind of talks about reincarnation, because there have been so many people that talk about when they have their they actually died and were resuscitated, and they talk about all over the world had the exact same experience. They died, they went into like this classroom sort of a thing, right? It was basically like a debriefing, what happened, all right, let's go back, right? So on to, you said Brown, what was the first name? Sylvia Brown, right? And so they go into this classroom, they talk about what happened, okay, you didn't accomplish what you needed to accomplish, right? You go back. In the flip side, they don't necessarily talk about the spirit getting thinner and wasting away sort of a thing, but either the thing gets accomplished or you become so old that instead of being on the classroom side of things, you become a teacher until you can really help those that have passed to help them on their next journey, their next life that happens. I know at this point we are so far away from our own religion, but these are several other theories here.
If we're not going to learn from other religions and other experiences, how are we as a religion going to grow?
That's fair.
Because we are a
oral tradition
religion who's lost 98% of our stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to rebuild it.
Plus, so many religions stole from us to begin with, we can take those pieces and piece them back in and actually make something that works.
So instead of reverse psychology, we got reverse Christianity.
Yeah.
We're reverse engineering this shit.
We are. Yes, that is the better word.
Yes.
No.
But it goes back to the sense of, again, just because you think you're the shit, and because, I do not leave my doorstep without a weapon, for that is what the Havamal says. The weapon doesn't have to be a gun or a knife or a sword. This is your sharpest blade you will ever carry, and if it is dull, you will never succeed in anything.
It's like that episode of Doctor Who. They're like, where's the weapons? We have to defeat this werewolf that's trying to break into the library. And he goes, look around. We are in a library. We are in a room full of weapons.
Exactly. You can pelt them, light them on fire, and then throw them.
That was my first thought, and then he actually explained what he was trying to say.
Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Right?
Yeah. And it goes to this fact, though, that it's like, you don't have to be this ultimate berserker warrior. And most people, you're not a berserker anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that was less than 1. That was like 0.1%.
Right.
Were ever berserkers.
Berserkers, Ulfrenden, or I cannot remember the name for the boars, but they were the 3 main sect of animal: bear, wolf, and boar.
They all drank each other's piss.
And tripped balls on shrooms. Psilocybin is a hell of a drug. The thing, though, is the fact that...
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You have to understand that just because you think you're some badass, well, so did half the other people who got the first arrow in their face charging on the battlefield. That's not an honorable death. You were just a dude charging into battle, thinking you were about to slay a fuck ton of enemies, and lights out.
Yep.
Done. That does not mean you get to go to Valhall. That does not mean that you get to go to even Volkfinger. You could end up in Helheim, but it's not a bad place. So don't feel so betrayed if you don't end up where you want to go.
Yeah, Helheim doesn't necessarily mean dishonorable dead. It just doesn't mean that it was the Spartan beautiful death.
Right. You didn't do as much as you could have. When you do that full thing, and none of us even know when that quota is met. That's the point. Because the gods don't want you to meet a quota. They want you to never stop trying.
Yeah.
Look at Odin. Odin sacrificed his eye, hung himself on a tree, stabbed himself in the side to understand the runes. But even to this day, Odin is out there among us and among the 9 realms, searching for a way to defeat Ragnarok.
But to that point, though, sorry, you all stopped nodding, and my brain was like, "Oh God,
We're
spotlight."
listening.
It's your turn to speak.
I know. Sorry.
So Odin's constantly searching.
No, it's before that. To the point of always trying. There's some that, perhaps they will always try. But they're all still going to be technically mediocre. Mm-hmm. They're not going to catch the eye of a god that's going to be like, I want them in my hall when they die.
That's totally fine.
It is. It is okay to go to Helheim. It's not,
Fight your way out if you want it so bad.
It's not as bad as it seems. From what I understand,
with your ancestors,
right? From what I understand,
the majority of them.
It is not a horrible place. It is literally Earth 2.0. It has trees. It's beautiful. It is the equivalent of the Christian heaven, but minus the all days are happy. I'm sure you're pretty fucking bored because you're autonomous. You're not. Yeah.
And that's the fact that because with hell there is the death side and the life side. And they honored hell. It was not a curse that they gave her to work over Helheim. They honored who she was as a source of life and death, of beauty and disgusting ugliness, all in one perfect body.
When Odin offered her Helheim, she smiled. She loved the idea of it.
Half of her did.
Yeah. What?
Half of her.
Oh, half
but
of her,
then there's always that theory that it's not half, it's half.
Oh, she's
alive
definitely the waist
and
down.
Dead from the waist down.
She definitely can't have kids, or she would
exactly.
have by now.
That's why that's the theory, because she's barren. So it could be uterus down. She's, dead.
Which makes perfect sense for her to watch over those that have already come to this new land, because
Uh-huh.
that's how she mothers.
Yes. And that's how she's able to hide the scary side.
That's beautiful.
I see it more that this.
I like seeing Harvey Two-Face.
Yeah. Harvey Two-Face, because more of just the way she responds to shit, where it's like, my bed is sick bed, my bowl is famine, these things, right? It's not necessarily here down.
My dagger is disease. Yeah,
right.
She's
hardcore.
She's very hardcore, but it's because that's what she needs to be to rule over Helheim.
Right.
Because she's getting 90-something% of the dead people.
Right. And either way, whether it's top, bottom half, whether it's left, right half, it's still... the metaphor in a half-dead person is still awesome to me, because I think the metaphor as a half-dead person also represents a sort of a reincarnation sort of a thing, right? Yeah. Because there's life and death. And the person that's overseeing both, really.
Right.
She has to oversee both, so, they're dating some more people. You've been here a while.
It's like the idea of Persephone and Hades rolled into one goddess.
Yeah, I could see that.
And that's why, or as much as we say don't worship Loki, and we do not worship Hel, but we value what she does.
We value her more than Loki.
Right.
We like Loki to stay in the corner. She can eat at the table.
Yeah. Because, and that's the thing.
I like that.
Yeah. The death side is the hideous, ugly parts of us that we all try to hide, but you can't. And then the light side, excuse me, is so beautiful. Even the gods have said that. The other side of her is extremely attractive.
Well, yeah, they were saying that, in the story of them taking her to Odin, the god on one side saw a beautiful young girl, perfect in all ways. The god on the opposite side saw death and disfigurement.
Yeah.
So one side the god's like, oh, this is all right. Here we go. Whether it was Thor with Jormungandr on a spear?
Yes.
And then Tyr with
the puppy.
With the puppy. One god was having fun, the other one's, God, I gotta walk next to this fucking thing.
Right.
And then that's why I like the idea of it.
Right.
Split.
I think that right there also brings us back to the beginning of what we were talking about, how for our religion, death is celebrated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even with her, the personification of death, one side's still beautiful.
Yes.
One side, the other side is more of us to realize and fear
our own mortality.
Exactly.
There's
to realize
beauty
and
in death.
There's a lot of beauty in
There's
death.
a ton of beauty in death.
Because the best thing about death is you get the answer to the most asked question in the entire known living universe.
Peanut butter or jelly first?
What happens
Peanut butter.
after? Fuck your chicken, fuck your egg, fuck your PB&J.
Don't fuck your farm animals.
What happens after we go? And that is the most sought after question That is why there's so many religions. That is why there's so much fighting. That originated of all war. What the fuck happens after we go?
Here's your answer. Party hardy.
Right. Party hardy, leave a big burn mark when you go, and make sure the world knows your name.
Yep. Well, I'm saying afterlife. I mean, who's to say it's not one big fucking party?
Make sure the world knows your name in a way that they want to reminisce about you.
Yeah.
And
There's a difference. Like, we all know Hitler,
crap.
but that motherfucker didn't make it anywhere good.
No, he went to Niflheim if he went anywhere north.
I still like to believe Little Nicky.
The pineapple?
Yeah.
I hope he pineapples.
Reference went way over my head.
We're watching it.
What?
Yeah.
What is it?
Little Nicky.
Adam Sandler?
Oh, I just haven't seen it in a while. Okay. Yep. Okay. I'll
Oh,
rewatch
holy
it.
schnitz!
Thanks for rewatching the next week.
Yeah.
Well,
Adam Sandler sponsor us.
So side
He's
tangent
Jewish.
about this, okay?
Okay.
Your guys' take on this whole there's no Nazis in Valhalla bullshit that's been going around. What are you guys' takes on it?
It's because their idea was based entirely around a genocide.
Right, but I'm saying as far as, you know, being able to be chosen to go to Valhalla, do you think that is possible?
If in their code they thought they were being honorable because they were told. He brainwashed an entire fucking nation to believe that the Jews were a problem. And so there's these people who are desperate to get their life back. I'm not saying that what they did was fine. I'm not condoning it in any way. It's simply that in their code of ethics, what
But
they
that's
did
the
was
same,
right.
okay, if you follow Loki into battle, do you get to go to Asgard?
So
But if you're a great warrior,
That doesn't
is
mean
he
shit.
really
Did
gonna?
you follow the enemy of all humankind into battle?
So-
yes, you don't go to fucking Valhall.
Oh, goodness.
I think
Well,
on
but
the
to them,
just
they
the
didn't think
bare
it was-
minimum of the qualifications of getting into Valhalla. Were you honorable? Did you die in battle? Most of them did not die in battle, right? A lot
Right.
of them lived in old age. But, so the honorable part, right? Even the gods brought two, literally races, because we're all a human race, right?
Right.
Brought two races together and intermingled, right? So to suggest that one race, even though we're all the human race, one race is superior to another goes directly against what the gods are trying
That's
to
fair.
teach us.
No, that's
right?
fair.
Because even the gods mingled with giants.
Right.
The gods, the Aesir and the Vanir mingled.
True.
Right? Even their spittle mingled to create a new creature, right? Another god.
Right.
Right? So to suggest that one person based on any physical attribute is superior to another for any reason at all goes against their teachings.
And the main word you used is brainwashed. If you're so weak that you cannot think for yourself and you must rely on somebody else, there's no honor in that.
Well, but it's a known fact that not all Nazis believed in Hitler's cause. They're good soldiers following orders.
Following orders, yeah.
Yes.
But they still fall under the category of Nazi because they fought on that side.
How many people
How
who
many
are following
Germans
orders
left Germany?
have a story? People that follow orders don't typically have a story.
Right.
Right. There are a few people who are in extraordinary circumstances. We've had several come out in American history the past few years who were in. Yes, they were following orders at first. They didn't necessarily break orders, but they were in such extraordinary circumstances that they have a story and they will be remembered in American history for a long time.
Like the sniper guy.
Yeah, I wasn't going to put any names out there, but
Yeah,
yes,
I
that's
don't know his
that's
name
one of the
anyway.
guys I was talking about. But those guys specifically. So if you think of all of the Nazis, who are you going to think about? You're going to think of the leader, the Fuhrer. You're going to think of the guy that was experimenting on twins, and I'm purposely not saying any of their names, right?
Right.
You're thinking of the guy that...
The SS leaders. These
But when
Right.
I think of this subject, I'm literally thinking of the infantrymen who are there because good paying job. You know, they're trying to provide for their families, and they died in battle. They were good at what they were doing in battle. They weren't necessarily racist. They were just fighting a war.
But that's, again, you're talking about the 98%, and the 98% doesn't make it.
Well,
So,
what
okay,
we're
hold on.
saying
It's the
is,
elect.
are there Nazis in Valhalla? Probably. Is there a lot of them? Most likely not.
It would depend on your definition of Nazi, because today's definition of Nazi has changed. Right. Today's definition of Nazi is going to be a
Pure warmonger, hate breed, just
White supremacy.
brutal.
white
Yeah, no, that's
supremacist,
not what we're saying.
Yeah.
nationalist fascist,
No.
right? Racist, right? At the time, and actually still is in Germany and in Austria, when you reach a certain age, you're required to go do military service.
Yep.
they didn't all have a choice. And at that time, even, you had to become Hitler's youth.
Yeah.
So, could there possibly be Nazis according to that 1945, the 1930s to 1940s definition of Nazi being Valhalla? Yes. I will unfortunately have to say yes.
And in all fairness, that's where my brain, anytime somebody says Nazis, that's where my brain goes, is that definition of Nazi. I can't fathom the current definition.
If you read the comment threads on any one of those posts, because they show up in every single pagan page on Facebook and Instagram and anywhere else. Somebody will post that picture of Marvel's Thor with the no Nazis in Valhalla, and that's all they talk about is the German Nazi soldiers.
Right.
Now, Nazis on today's standards?
Yeah, no. These fuckers aren't, no.
No. You know, no chance in hell, because they're not even facing any kind of a battle.
But like what Little Acorn said, it's going to be like 0.001% of the Reinhardt.
Absolutely.
Because yes, the guy who just got drafted in, he had no fucking choice and he died on the battlefield, but he was going to try for the fatherland, for Germany, for the country itself. Perhaps.
But it's a perhaps. It's a strong perhaps. Because again, it's Valhall, not Val-all.
Exactly.
Right? So just because you were following orders, just because you had to go in the military, just because XYZ, doesn't necessarily mean you lived an honorable life and Odin fucking wanted you.
Right, because in the same motion, you have to take in the fact that
though.
we're talking about Castro, we're talking about Mussolini, we're talking about Stalin.
Right.
Why can't they make it too? They were evil people that were still fighting for their fucking country, and they were forced to.
We're going a different direction.
Yeah, no.
That's because I don't give a fuck. Me personally, I think if you are so weak that you cannot follow your own mindset and fight for what you believe in, you don't get in. Odin wants the strongest willed, the strongest backed people. He wants the men and women who fought for what they believed in, not for what they were told to believe in.
So that being said, there were quite a few people, especially when it came to, I'm going to call it genocide, of the British Isles, right? Because they were trying to wipe out as much Christians as they could, just so that they can have some farmland. Like, hey, we'll try to live in peace, and then it went on both sides, right? The English or the Brits tried to kill the Norse tried to kill the Brits. Either way, right? It went on both ways. So there's not like one more evil than the other. I mean, we can suggest there is now because we're
looking back on it. It's much easier,
right? But you know, so there are still several people who were following orders in that time that could have made it.
This is totally gonna be on.
It's gonna be on the video.
That's the furnace. Right. But the same thing with the I'm gonna call them German soldiers and separate the word Nazi.
There you go.
The German soldiers of the time, whether it be before World War I to after World War II, right? They several of them, probably were following orders, but it had to be, did Odin fucking want you? Right? Because like you said,
did Odin want all the shit that you were doing to happen in the first place?
Yeah, because I mean there are so many documents and like videos of the German people at the time that were shown Auschwitz. They were shown these concentration and death camps, and they wanted to kill themselves. They were like, I had no fucking clue this was going to happen. So some of them, they followed orders, but they had no idea. They couldn't know that there was more going on beyond it.
Exactly.
It wasn't that they were brainless soldiers. There's so many other factors to consider now that we're 80 years.
But we're looking back on it with rose-colored glasses.
Right. I mean, there's...
Or shit-colored, however you want to...
Right. But there's so much other time for us now to look on these other people.
Right.
Who, some of them may have been innocent in all regards. Some of them may be lying, like the Death Eaters in Harry Potter, right? It was like, I was on the Confundus. Like, no, you fucking weren't. You're a fucking Death Eater.
But with this, it is to the point, is there the possibility?
There is. Of course there is.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people who just do not want to grasp that and admit that somebody who fought as a German soldier under the title of Nazi, because that was the name of the fucking Democratic Army, the name of the political party that he ran under, and that's what he named his army. Yeah. So...
And in the same light, if it's possible for Nazis to be in Valhalla, it's possible for Knight Templars from the Crusade.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I've always said. I've always told Christians and people like that, if you're right, I go to hell just because I refuse to believe.
Exactly.
If I'm correct, there's still a chance for you, depending on how honorable you were and how you lived your life.
So it goes kind of onto like what we talked about before with the dibs theory, right? If we've got so many gods, it doesn't make sense that we would shun out any other religious ideas, right? So if there's this multiple choice afterlife, then it also suggests that there's a multiple choice afterlife depending on which religion and God wants you, right? So if you go through there, because I'm going to say 98 to 100% of the German soldiers were probably Christians.
Well, yeah.
There's probably 0 of them in Valhall, right? Because they went into their own belief systems after life, assuming there's not one almighty afterlife.
Exactly.
Right?
I am pissed off that we can't call ourselves Aryans anymore.
I really,
that was a much
really,
cooler name than Caucasian.
Really like the idea of the Grim Reaper. When you die, he comes to wherever you land, like a purgatory type thing.
Mm.
And he's like, all right, which religion do you subscribe to? And then he takes you there.
If you want to be a void of nothingness and just disappear into worm food,
that's what he does.
Cool.
And it was a comic I saw once, but it was basically,
Godfather.
He would come up to you. He would, if you had the
like
Greek
that.
coins over your eyes, he would automatically know, okay, I need to take you to Olympus and Hades, and I don't know my Greek mythology well enough.
I mean, if you come up and you're in a boat filled with like a slave, a horse, and a bunch of other stuff, he's like, oh, you're one of those Norse guys.
No problem. I know where to take you.
The Grim Reaper's not a guy with a sickle. He's a fucking elevator man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What floor today, sir?
With a little top hat and everything. Exactly. And that's I really enjoy that imagery because, again, that takes us back to the Dibs theory and how there's all the different gods and all the different pantheons.
What if you ever see the show Dead Like Me?
I saw like one episode and then I couldn't find it again.
So in that TV show they talk about there's not just a single Grim Reaper, there's just like there's a bunch of different.
Right.
It's a hilarious show and I do recommend it. But if you go through this and you have this religion that you subscribe to, that's a lot. I need a better word than that. But there's a religion that you subscribe to that religion's psychopomp should be the one that finds you.
Yeah.
And a psychopomp, for those of you that don't know, is the creature or spirit that takes you from this world into the next. Right?
The Pharaoh over the river Styx, the Valkyrie.
Right, exactly. So whether it be the Grim Reaper, whatever image comes to mind with that, because a lot of imagery is the exact same as Odin, the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
The psychopomp could be the Valkyrie, could be Sharon, could be XYZ, right? Depending on what it is you believe in. It could be an angel, could be a cherub, could be whatever it may be. But I really like the idea of the Grim Reaper being like, well, which religion do you? And he's like, hey, Valkyries, we need you down here, right? Which would be hilarious in today's world when we've got...
He's the middle manager.
Right.
Shows up in like
He's
a
getting paid by
business
all the
suit.
gods.
Making hand over fist.
Right,
Yeah.
that'd be fucking hilarious. Oh, I hope that's true. I can't wait to
You need to
find
sign this form in this form. You need to release your soul to this being.
Oh, if he's a
He
fucking
shuts the
bureaucrat.
briefcase, locks
You just
it,
ruined that
snaps
for me,
his finger.
Once he gets you to the right floor, the god tosses him a little pouch full of coins.
Yep.
Thanks, buddy.
A whole pouch of coins. Oh, that motherfucker. I'm in the wrong business. Alright, so if not Freya's Hall, I want to be a psychopath.
And even as you see with Roundtable, it can get like heated in a sense, but it's the fact of these are exactly what we're doing here. We want to bring the passion and the difference of ideas, but cohesiveness as a community of brothers and sisters who love one another to the world.
Yeah, I think we did a good job of staying to the title Valhall versus Valhall.
Right.
Definitely.
And not necessarily what does afterlife
Yeah.
mean.
Right.
Because we don't know.
Right, and we don't. And like this is why we wanted to do the roundtable discussions was because we get passionate when there's not a camera involved. We get to the point that sometimes we're yelling and slamming on the table like, no, Chris, fucking listen. Open your ears to what I'm saying.
What is she saying?
And then, we're fine.
Right.
And it doesn't divide us. And
Yeah.
that's why we've always wanted to film it because we feel like it's much more natural and a lot more easier. That's totally correct.
It's alright. Chris and I don't words.
It's easier
I'm
for
pretty
people.
easy.
It's easier for people to relate and actually be able to join in our discussions.
Yeah.
Because we want to hear the opinions of people watching our podcasts.
Yeah, and seriously, we do want comments, but at the same time, you don't need to blow up the comments about the political structure of the 1930s in Germany. We understand which political spectrum of Nazism existed.
Yes.
We're going to discuss this off camera. It doesn't need to be in the comments.
Yes. I think those comments would actually be the kind that we delete, is the ones that actually just promote strife instead of actually trying to be constructive.
Yeah. And that's one reason why we want to do this on camera, too, is because we want to, you put things, I hate the term keyboard warrior, but at the same time,
it's accurate.
Like, it is, right? There's no ability, you could say the most matter-of-fact tone without emotion, and it's going to be taken 10 different ways, right?
Yeah.
Because people read it with their own thoughts. It depends on where they're at currently. It depends on all sorts of other factors, because who you are is different in everyone's minds, how they perceive you, right? And so if someone perceives you as an angry asshole, they're going to read everything you type as an angry asshole, right? And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So that's why we want to put it on camera, so we can actually hear each other's tones.
Yep.
We can talk about it. And we can get heated really quick and talk it out.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And simmer. Because, you and I used to have this issue where we text each other and we're in group chat and we're both thinking we're yelling at each other and we're both just like, buddy, no, why are you yelling?
Yeah, time to call.
Yeah. And we just call each other and work it out.
And so the ideas behind these podcasts and the idea behind why we want people to comment is because we want to open a dialogue.
Yes.
Check out the other video talking about the all thing, right? And that's why it's so important to get people face to face. The internet's awesome because it brings us all together.
But it allows us to be all together and think we're right because 12 other people said so.
Right.
It divides us as easily as it brings us together.
Yeah. The world is smaller, but we couldn't be further apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, open a dialogue, talk with someone, especially someone whose ideas and ideals differ from yours. And you don't necessarily have to come to common ground, but enjoy other people's perspectives because it makes a huge, huge difference.
And it gives you good insight on who they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
The best way to learn about somebody is knowing the things that you disagree on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's getting to see.
A true debate.
Yeah. Because we, like we've discussed in several videos, being able to be so tight-knit in this group, even though half of us think one way politically, the other half thinks the opposite.
Yeah,
And
it's basically half and half.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can
Actually,
have
tell it one day.
we can have
I was curious.
conversations. They can get heated, but at the end of the day, like we've said in previous videos, we don't unfriend each other. We don't punch each other over it.
Well,
We're still-
we punched Roman.
Yeah, but I got
that's
punched on
different.
both sides of the political spectrum. I was just being a dick all around. But we do. We've got socialists in our group. We've got libertarians in our group. We've got, I'm going to call them fascists, but that's a completely different other conversation, right? But we've got everyone represented.
I'm a monarchist.
You're so many things. And his labels are typically incorrect. Although, Jonathan Van Ness for Queen of America.
Yes.
But it all comes down to like the news really does well at like parting us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And according to the news, these four people should not be able to have a civil conversation.
Right.
Right. And that's one thing that what's his name? Is it Bill Maher?
I wouldn't doubt it.
I think it's Bill Maher that tries to do that. Right. He tries to get people of opposite views come together and have it gets heated.
Yeah.
It's an entertaining show, but that's why he does it, right? But this needs to happen more to really make America great again.
But our host isn't biased.
To really make America great again, we all have to come together and we have to start discussing shit, not yelling at each other.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, and I think the biggest reason, of course, way off topic. Now.
Oh yeah,
we've lost that a while ago. Don't worry, you'll get soon.
we're soapboxing now,
I'm
and Allie's
thinking
gonna
about
cut
this now.
all of this.
Yeah.
No, this is going to be a completely different video.
I
Kind
think
of my
that
goal with
the
the
reason
titles is to get multiple videos.
we're at where we are at as a society right now is because 20, 30 years ago we decided we can't talk about two things in any household.
Politics
Religion,
and religion.
politics.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so we've all lost the ability to be civil debaters.
Yeah.
It's now, if you don't believe my way, get the fuck out of my house.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
Cue the master debater joke.
Joke had. Move on.
so yeah, being able to have the debates and the conversations that we have within our group, and still being a family at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shining example of what everyone should strive to be.
Right. And that's the idea of kindred, right? It's this idea of family that supersedes belief, right? Because belief is so integral to what someone is, that when you find someone else whose ideas differ from your own, of course it's going to make you emotional, right? And sometimes it makes it difficult to have a debate, a civil debate, right? But you got to move past it and still be a kindred, a chosen family, right? And still at the end of the day, because I know at the end of the day, when I leave this place, I'm still going to hug these two, even though their ideas on some very basic levels are very different than my own. They're still family. Right? And that's something that I feel like a lot of people need to move past.
Yep.
Yeah. So before we end up with 5 3-hour videos.
Oh, yes. Master debater.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, joke had. Move on.
So, as always, thank you for drinking from the well.